come up with answers that could help to propel the agriculture sector in Grenada. My brother Joshua.
Good morning, everybody, including Mr. Pierre, those in the diaspora worldwide, at home especially. I'm pretty pleased to be talking this morning about the budget. You know, did the budget remember the farmer? I'm not sure, but I guess as we go along, thoughts will come to mind. But first of all, can I say that, can I acknowledge the amount of work that has gone into the budget preparation and all those who've been preparing the budget, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. One of the things that you must acknowledge is that they put in the work, and it was a reasonable presentation. Me personally, I'm looking forward to the response to the budget from our Senator of Agriculture and the opposition as well. The budget tends to be something that forgets the farmer, if the truth be known. And I don't think this budget is any different, really. The expenditure for agriculture is more or less the same as last year. There's no project for agriculture. There's no incentives for agriculture. There's no plan that I can see for agriculture. There's no recovery plan for barrels. So it's more or less, much of the same. However, I think if you dig deep into the budget, you can get linkages to the budget that affects agriculture. So things like boosting the poultry industry or the livestock industry, there was nothing for that. Things like irrigation in terms of the weather pattern that we have in the unreliable weather pattern. There was nothing to counteract, the climate change as far as I could see. So once again, we're hoping that an international agency will come along and bring a project, and we'll jump on board and see what we can get. Those in the know will kind of get something. Those who don't know or not into new media wouldn't know. I personally was expecting something for poultry. We did the national poultry policy, and it attracted about 60 million of new investment. That's the power of policy. We have two spanking brand new processing facility in Grenada. One in Montrose in the rural community, one in Crochet in the rural community. Now, it's important where they're situated, because the rural community has to be revitalized, and the more we can attract businesses to the rural community, the better. But I will go through poultry. We've already had a major investment, as I say, up to 60 million in poultry, and we have state-of-the-art processing facilities there. I was working in the very same industry only about a week, about 3 or 4 days ago. And one of the factories were trying to reach an agreement with one of the hotels. And one of the things that we've been saying on this program came to light as nothing else. When the local factory shared its prices for pots for poultry, the only thing that it could really supply to the hotel was breast. The breast prices for the hotel and the breast prices for the factory was similar. Everything else in terms of pricing for the hotel was probably about half the price of what the locals could produce, so about a third of the 2/3 of the price what the local can produce. And we've been talking for ages, and this should have been addressed by now, whereby government keeps tying the hands of the farmers behind their back. This has to stop, and the way they keep doing it is giving the foreign direct investors so much concession that they disable local producers or local entrepreneurs or local farmers. And not only farmers, but quite often they destabilize local business as well by what they do. And GIDC has to take some responsibility for that. Either the head of GIDC has to go or the chair of GIDC has to go unless this issue is dealt with, because we as a people cannot continue year after year being sold down the river by these people who are supposed to be helping us. It's very important that this question is dealt with once and for all, because farmers and the rural community are struggling. Some of them are living in poverty. Our poverty rate is quite high. And part of the reason why it's so high is because we're doing policy to keep them in poverty. Now, those people who are in nice jobs, who are doing good things, bringing in big foreign direct investment in the hotels, etc., good, I applaud that, but you gotta be more rounded. You gotta look at your people, those who are not involved in the tourism industry, those who are doing the livestock farming. And I'm tired. Another budget has come, and once again, local people hands are being tied behind their back. You know, what I wanted to see in this budget is this. I wanted to see some incentive for the local poultry farmer. I wanted to see that we had an incentive so that we could encourage the local farmers to create a living for himself or herself and their family. I wanted some grants to be given to help poultry farmers build their pens up to 3 to 5,000 birds, so that they can give those birds to the processor who would process it and pay. Now, we've started a project in terms of poultry and going local. We've done one part of it, and that's the processing center. But we have to do the second and the third part. Government was supposed to do the regulation since 1979 in terms of the poultry industry to encourage local production. Since 1979, that was supposed to be done. There's been no regulation done so that we can have a local poultry industry. I know, because I've been involved behind the scene, that new regulations were written and passed on to the government for the government to implement. And this is over a year ago. Nothing has been done. If it's the World Bank or the International Monetary Fund and they're asking for something to be done, within 2 to 3 months, it's done. What is so wrong about helping your own local people? I don't
You think they
understand it.
remember them? Sometimes they genuinely forget you.
Yeah, I don't understand it, and I'm getting a little impatient at how we treat our own. There's an insensitivity that is shown towards local people. Now, I want to stick on this point because it's important. We have the processing facilities. They themselves cannot produce enough birds in terms of what we need, in terms of supplying the local industry. The local industry needs the regulations to be enacted and put in place. But we need about 20 to 30 small scale farmers scattered around the island that are producing this 3,000, 5,000 birds, every week for the local processors. This is going to change lives. It's going to create about 8 million dollars in money circulation in the rural community. It's going to create about 3,000 to 5,000 jobs in the local community, and it's going to enhance people's standard of living. We have to give something back to the local community. We have to give something back to the rural community. And the rural community, I think, to a degree, sometimes I'm annoyed because they have power. There's about 7 rural community in terms of who have power to vote and to put in people during the elections, and they're not using the democratic power to get anything for themselves. There should be some sort of kind of agreement that if you want us to elect you, you have to do something for the rural community. And the first and the simplest thing to do is to develop the poultry industry. We need assistance to these poultry farmers, whether they're producing eggs, whether they're producing meat, whether they're producing ducks, whether they're producing turkey, whether they're producing quail, whether they're producing eggs, liquid eggs. We need to open our minds and stop this nonsense that's going on, hoping that something's going to happen. We cannot keep doing this.
Could it, Joshua, could it be that the irrespective of the amount of millions of dollars that these two principally poultry companies get involved, that the government did not, the Ministry of Agriculture did not remember them?
I don't think they remember them. And I'm sitting here today and I'm agitated. I'm really agitated because it's already here. Those people have made their investment. Poor people are all over our rural constituency, and they want the opportunity. And this is such an easy win for
They
Grenada.
have a model in Jamaica
Mhm.
with the satellite farms.
Yeah.
And I guess that is what you
Yeah,
get.
exactly what I'm
So
doing.
we are not reinventing the wheel.
No.
The wheel has already been made.
Yes.
You
and
just
it-
want to wheel the wheel in Grenada.
Yeah, and it's so successful, Mr. Pierre, in Jamaica. It's so successful.
Jamaica boilers.
Yeah, Jamaica broilers. It's so successful in Barbados. I mean, why do we keep tying Grenadian farmers' hands behind their
Particularly-
back? Why do we forget them?
particularly in light of the fact that we had burial and government said they give income support.
Yes.
So
Where's the recovery plan in the budget?
The farmer was practically expecting a recovery plan.
Yeah. Where is it? You have a national budget after a national disaster, and there's nothing in terms of a recovery plan for farmers.
And this budget is big.
Yeah. And
2 billion, almost 2 billion.
Yeah, but
1.9 something billion.
yeah, but they have nothing in this budget in terms of food sovereignty. The only little thing I heard is food security. So what is it? Is it intellectually that the people doing the budget doesn't understand the challenge of food sovereignty? Is it that they only repeating what they've heard internationally, food sovereignty? In order to protect your people, you have to understand food sovereignty. After you understand food sovereignty, then you go down to food security. But the aim has to be food sovereignty. Whether you could get food sovereignty in one area or all the area of food sovereignty. Now, when people talk about food sovereignty, they're talking about the staple of your society, what it eats. And the idea is that you produce that. Now, a lot of the staples that we eat, we have to decolonize these things. We have to look at what we eat, and we have to look at what the wider world eat. Now, the wider world is into, the corn, the wheat, the maize, the soya, etc. Those tend to be that. Now, we've always said that we can't be competitive in terms of these things because they require so much land space. But we can be competitive in terms of our diet, our taste buds, and I say that, and I'm guilty of it as well. We have fresh fish, but we go in and eat salt fish. That is not really that healthy for us. I'm not saying don't eat salt fish because I eat it
But
myself.
you can make a joke and tell people do it saltfish.
Yeah.
They say even women like saltfish.
Yeah. I know, and I love saltfish as well. But it's the salt in the saltfish that has conditioned our taste buds over the years. But we have fresh
Maybe
fish.
that is what makes it addictive.
Yeah, yeah, it is addictive. But we have to get the taste buds around to fresh fish because
Yes, I think I say to individuals, watch the little children.
Mhm.
You have a little child and they will eat damsel and cherries and mango and they will eat tomatoes and raw carrot. But as soon as that child
Mhm.
start to go in the shop
Mhm.
and start to eat snacks,
Mhm.
the child immediately move away
Mhm.
from the fresh fruits.
Yeah.
And I challenge and I
Yeah.
dare people
Yeah.
to observe. You have your little child who maybe 6 months, two
Mhm.
years, 3 years, you hardly interact and they're bringing them out. And the children would eat the tomatoes,
Yeah.
eat the carrots,
Mhm.
almost every fruit you give the
Mhm.
child eats it.
Yeah.
As soon as that child start to eat the snacks
Mhm.
in the shop, the child will walk away from cherries, they walk away from carrots, they
Mhm.
don't like callaloo
Yeah.
because the snacks are pregnant with salt and pepper. It
Mhm.
become
Yeah.
MSG
Yeah. Yeah.
seasoning. It is more addictive
Yeah.
than cigarette smoking.
Yeah, and ripe bananas should be one of the things every shop has. Every grocery shop have, as a fruit potassium for us to, because ripe bananas is so beautiful and so tasty, and we grow that. We have to make an effort in terms of food and nutrition, and the wider society, the schools and everybody in terms of fresh food. But I don't want to get off the point I want to make this morning, Mr. Pierre. I want economic stimulus for the rural community. And the easiest and the low lying fruit that I saw was the poultry sector, in terms of employment generation. In terms of the rural well, it's not just the rural community for poultry because poultry is grown St. George's everywhere. It's all around the island.
Somebody will say Grenada is a rural place.
Yeah.
We're very small, so
Yeah.
where poultry is concerned, you don't expect poultry in the heart of town, but
Yeah, no, it's not in the heart of the.
Vendom, all of
Yeah, yeah, yeah. St. Paul's, all of
yeah.
them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. St. George's, although it has what 36,000 of the population, they grow on eggs, and they probably grow more there because the population is.
What are we going to do?
Mhm.
Because I think this thing may well continue. The budget has already been read,
Mhm.
and I don't think what they forget, they forget.
Yeah, I think I blame the farmers to a degree. We should be marching to town now. We should be marching on to town and say enough is enough.
The French farmers are
Yeah,
very good at lobbying.
yeah, yeah.
One of the challenges all farmers have, we don't lobby.
Yeah,
And then the people that are representing us, they behave just like us.
yeah,
They don't lobby.
they don't lobby. I mean, I'm so disappointed that 2 or 3 million hasn't been put aside to develop the poultry industry further. I'm so disappointed that a little 20,000 or 30,000 hasn't been put aside for the regulations for the poultry industry. I mean, what's the good of all this publicity? We have a policy, we have news making kind of chat, and we don't finish the job. We start the job and we don't finish it. If we could just get one subsector going properly, then the other subsector could go. Because once we do poultry, all cattle could be done. The goat can be done. All the other ruminants can be done. Just looking at one successful model, and that's all I ask government is, let's kind of develop
Maybe we
one
asking the
subsector.
wrong people.
Hmm.
Perhaps we have to start to ask the farmers to wake up.
Yeah,
The
uh,
farmers is in
yeah.
they're gone and sleep
They're in
like Mount St. Catherine volcano.
they're in slumber, and they've
They
been
sleep there.
in slumber for many, many, many years. But you know,
I know you must be disappointed because the 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 effort, the investment that
mhm.
has been placed in poultry industry, you thought that would excite the government.
Yes, and you're so right, Mr. Pierre, because these entrepreneurs who've come in from the private sector with their own money and they've also borrowed money, I would have thought these local people would have been supported and supported big time. But it seems unless you are foreign direct investor, forget you.
Yeah,
I'm so disappointed that we're not completing the circle in terms of poultry. I'm so disappointed that we don't hear anything about greenhouses in terms of incentive. We don't hear anything about irrigation in terms of incentives. I know sometimes you can apply to government and they'll give you 100% concession to things, but I wanted us, especially in terms of our food security or and our food sovereignty, to have a plan how we were going to engage in terms of food sovereignty. I also wanted us to have a plan in terms of how we are going to move forward with this green energy, because I firmly
you think that
believe.
genuinely every time we speak about the environment and green energy, I am more gravitate to Donald Trump
Yeah,
original position.
you're a
I think
Trumpian.
he modify his position now, but a lot of them is like a hoax. We using, and I'm not saying that none of some small effects of the environment. I'm more concerned about nuclear weapon than the
Yeah.
environment itself.
Yeah.
But we small countries like ours could attract a
Mhm.
significant amount of millions of dollars for the environment.
Yeah.
But when we attract that money, we are not doing anything sensible, worthwhile to help the environment.
Yeah, Mr. P, I'm not so much into the green energy for the environment.
Now, speaking about the greenhouses,
Yeah,
because that's one of
yeah,
the
yeah. Let me explain. I am into the green energy for the economic boost that it can bring to Grenada. If we have a solar panel factory in Grenada that's supplying the whole OECS, straight away we have about 100 jobs going. We have money circulation going. If we start a small factory building, these greenhouses or shade houses in terms of minor manufacturing, if we transition in terms of, the EV cars, electric vehicles, etc., all of that is going to boost our economy. It's going to stimulate growth, but we have to create the infrastructure in terms of that. We cannot keep saying, "Oh yeah, we transition into the green economy." How are we transitioning? What are we putting in place? Is there charging stations in Grenville? Is there charging station being built in St. Mark's? What are we doing? Where is the incentive, real incentive, not a little 20% off and 30% off, in terms of moving our country in terms of renewable energies? The poultry houses, if you look at the poultry houses tend to be about 100 feet long and about 40 feet wide. You could put solar panels all over the roof of a poultry house. And those farmers, by their little investment and the guarantee with their land, they could pay for whatever investment that they put into the land. And at the same time, that energy is going back to Grenlec. So everybody wins. It's so simple. It is so simple. Why are we not doing it? Why is the road map not being created to do that? Why are we going and looking for some complex kind of solution when we have such simple solutions to our issues? The poultry sector in Grenada loses 27 to 30 million every year, to Brazil, to the USA, to Europe. Those countries don't need our money. We need our money to circulate in Grenada. Growing poultry is not complex. In fact, a lot of the young men like poultry. In other countries like India, the women love poultry. That's the poultry is theirs. The goats and the poultry in Africa is the women. But here, the young men who are not into this academic stuff are a
Well,
lot.
obviously, Joshua, the other aspects, the government did not forget, or they seems perhaps, or we have not picked up anything.
Hmm.
And if you pick up anything outside any public, remember our number is 536-2558,
Hmm.
because we're saying we don't see anything significant
Hmm.
or remarkable
Or
or
tangible.
surgical or tangible in the budget for the farmer. But you may see. So you could always call us
Yeah.
and make suggestion or send WhatsApp.
Yeah, but it's early days,
It's
so
early days, yeah.
I'm just reacting to the first kind of trial in terms of what's so wrong. So and I passionately wanted us to move forward and get that money circulation, because poultry could circulate about 200 million in the local economy, and I want that. I want the best for Grenada, and I want our leaders to want the best for Grenada. And I want it to be tangible. We have a poultry industry that we've been struggling with for the past 10 years. Overall, probably 52 years now, we've been struggling with that. We have an opportunity. We have movement. The needle has moved in terms of the poultry industry. And what I'm saying is, let's get the full circulation done. Let's get moving with the green energy. Let's create that roadmap for the green.
As you speak about the green energy again, and sometimes the government of Grenada is the biggest farmer in Grenada.
Yeah.
So even if we don't see anything tangible for the farmers,
Hmm.
but government itself doesn't seem to have any initiative
Hmm.
to invest in their farms.
Yeah. And
And
and the joint venture, it's time for the joint venture so that we could develop agriculture. I saw nothing in terms of joint venture, in terms of secondary processing for agriculture. I saw nothing in terms of joint venture, in terms of the government estates that we could do. I saw nothing in terms of what we complain about.
does the budget, again, we're saying to the public is early days yet, and sometimes we don't pick it up yet. But
Mhm.
does the budget have anything for government, for Ministry of Agriculture, the farmer?
Mhm.
Because we have the government,
Mhm.
but Ministry of Agriculture is the biggest farmer in Grenada.
Yeah. Mhm.
And if you invest new ideas or in agriculture in the government estate, that could be used as a model,
Yeah.
and the farmers could see.
Yeah.
So what is in the budget
Mhm.
for the Ministry of Agriculture, the farmer,
Mhm.
Granby Estate,
Mhm.
Lara,
Mhm.
Bellevue Estate?
Yeah.
What is in it?
Yeah. And listen to you, Mr. Pierre. I just think that the budget made a fundamental childish mistake. From my point of view, a fundamental childish mistake. The minister talked about linking digital economy and other economy to tourism, and I thought to myself, Well, yeah, you can link it, but where was the link between tourism and agriculture? Where was the link? I didn't see the link between tourism and agriculture. And if you ask any economist and you ask the major international agencies, how do you create employment in local economies with tourism? They will tell you you have to link agriculture to tourism. But there was no mention of a roadmap to link agriculture to tourism. Instead, what they were doing was linking the digital economy to tourism, the green economy, not the green, but the blue economy to tourism. What is going on? What is wrong with agriculture that you don't want to support agriculture? You don't want to do it in a meaningful way. We have to get results in terms of agriculture. The, we already in Jamaica, they have the forum where tourism meets on a weekly basis with agriculture, and they agree on the products that they're going to take. The link has been established, and it's been established for years. And in this budget, there's no link between tourism and agriculture. For God's sake, what have we done to you? You know, agriculture has to be linked with tourism in order to get the benefits of tourism. All the tourists eat. It's about time we start providing the food that the tourists eat. We can't produce everything, but I'm sure we could produce 30 or 50% of the food that they need. We certainly can produce ripe bananas. I know that because there's always a shortage
But
of.
the fact that the you ever call on the line? The fact that the hotel industry
Mhm.
is purchasing quite a lot of the vegetable and other agriculture products from outside.
Yeah,
The fact that they feel that they could get it cheaper and they're ignoring us.
yeah,
It means that we have to increase the quantity we produce, the quality we produce, and government definitely have to tie their concession with their thing to
yeah.
purchase in our
But the,
country.
the tariff system, Mr. Pierre, is wrong. You hear this talk about Donald Trump and tariff, and he's in many ways it's misusing tariff. But you have to remember this is where history is important. Our system in Grenada, our tariff, our trade, everything is geared towards import. It's not geared to building Grenada into an independent country. It's geared to kind of getting chicken flying into Grenada. It's getting all these cheap goods flying into Grenada, and the business people in Grenada put 20% on it and sell it over to us. We have to change that mindset. Are we going to build a Grenada, or are we just going to be some kind of dependent little thing in the ocean?
But
You know,
Joshua, what's about the other main sectors? Because in Grenada, nutmeg, cocoa, sauce up,
yeah.
fish, and then poultry now was coming as another
Yeah,
powerful factor.
yeah.
But
And you can't stop poultry because the guys have invested their millions already and they're pushing ahead.
yeah.
It's just that we put in like barriers in front of them, and that is what's annoying for
But
me.
did the government remember Cocoa Association? Did they remember nutmeg?
Yeah.
Did they remember the source of farmers in Grenada?
Hmm.
The exporters, maybe 10, 12 around there.
Yeah.
Not very many.
Hmm.
For 2.5 years, they cannot get a meeting with they can't get a meeting with government for 2.5 years. They cannot have a discussion with the government because one of the biggest challenge that you have with the source of farmers and the fish farmers is transportation. They have challenge to transport the products out of Grenada.
Hmm.
The quantity they produce
Hmm.
is insulting, is embarrassing. The market is available.
Yeah.
And we continue to let people know any day,
Hmm.
Mexico
Hmm.
is successful to
Yeah.
send fresh sauce up on the US market
Hmm.
that is the end of the trade for Grenada.
Yeah.
Because Mexico don't have is a border, they can move in with ton loads of fruits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Presently,
They do a lot to the
Mexico is
states.
unable to sell fresh sauce up. They make a bid the last time, they fail. Grenada is the only country in the region that could sell fresh sauce up to the US market.
Hmm.
So one would have thought that some emphasis would be placed on increasing the quantity.
But who's to blame for that? Is it the Minister of Agriculture? Is it the farmers? Or
I think
is
it's a
it?
mentality problem we have
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You see, the government is a true reflection of the people. And the people who've been lobbying for agriculture,
Hmm.
they have not been doing a good job.
Well, where are they? I mean, we talk. I know Andre Donald talks on agriculture. We
Well,
talk
it
on
doesn't
agriculture.
bother with Andrew. Andrew has been the longest voice,
On agriculture.
consistent on agriculture.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, they vex with Andrew.
The next. Okay.
They say, what you talking about agriculture so far?
Yeah.
You see,
Oh,
this might sound as a joke.
hmm.
And that is why I quote John Compton
Hmm.
all the time.
Hmm.
Compton, John Compton,
Hmm.
slammed the University of the West Indies
Hmm.
for not contributing enough to agriculture.
Yeah.
Forbes Bonham in Ghana,
Hmm.
Forbes Bonham end up like a lone warrior.
Hmm.
The expert in agriculture like to talk agriculture,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they don't practicalize the story.
Yeah.
Now let's come to Grenada here. Grenada is the only country in the region. You want to hear us saying that because we know the government don't believe that, and a lot of people don't believe that. So they could challenge us.
Hmm.
It's the only country in the Caribbean that can export fresh sauce up to the US market. Other people send pulp.
Hmm.
Brazil send pulp, Mexico send pulp.
Hmm.
We don't have enough sauce up. We cannot supply the market. We are alone in the market. We don't have enough.
Hmm.
And yet, there is nothing in the budget
Hmm.
to help to increase the quantum, the quantity produced.
Hmm.
Now, you could increase the quantity by planting more trees,
Hmm.
but you could also increase the quantity by husbandry practice, by pollination, by pruning methods, management. You could also increase the quantity by controlling the pests and the insects that affect. Government got rid of 10 to 12 persons that was controlling the croton scale insect that was very detrimental to saucer.
Yeah.
And after about a year, and we crying and making noise, they employ back 3 or 4.
Hmm.
Now, sometimes when you speak, people just see it as a straight yellow and green and red and yellow, and they put you in a category. But you don't understand what is the logic. You beg them, you ask, you cry, you plead. Why did you fire 12 and bring 3?
Hmm. Yeah, it's difficult, and we go back again to government estate, government
So you
privatized.
have the sauce up and fish have similar problem.
Hmm.
You don't hold in enough fish, and the quality of the fish is not as it should.
Yeah, but what would you have liked to see the budget do for sauce up and fish, practically?
Well, you have to have some incentive for people to plant more saucer. You have to have more training session in husbandry. You have to teach people about
Yeah,
pollination.
yeah,
Pollination. You have to have a better working relationship with these two group of people.
yeah. And FAO is
And the
helping.
transportation is important.
Yeah, FAO is helping.
If we had enough saucer, the trader could have hired a plane to go.
Yeah,
But they don't
possibly.
have enough.
Hmm.
So if the plane go in Ghana, And when you reach in Ghana, it's full. Although they harvest the sauce up here, they say we have to go in Ghana and see if we get
Yeah.
to come to make up. They say, what we have in Ghana is enough. We can't come again. So the people who bought the sauce up end up with the sauce up in their hands.
Yeah. And there, lots of losses.
And then you have a
going on.
helpless government
I do-
jumping around as if it's like a cricket. It's helpless.
Yeah. So one of the major things that has to be done in terms of source up is the release of lands from the land bank to plant more source.
Well, you don't even have to do that.
The other
The
thing
government could go in
yeah.
and plant
Yeah.
20 acres.
Yeah, the other thing that has to be done, there has to be some zoning in the government estates
Oh, they go zone again.
for soursop. Because if that is a fundamental crop that brings in foreign reserve, then we need to take it more seriously. Now, in Grand Bay Estate, when it was privatized, they started planting soursop, and then we were never told what happened in terms of Grand Bay Estate. It's like the people who had it just disappeared, or there were rumors in the background, something, and then government had their estate back again. And the estate has been semi-dormant for years. I think after Beryl, we had the Minister of Agriculture saying we're going to replant it and produce again. But it has to be more strategic and more fundamental how we tackle agriculture. We know irrigation. So, for example, Grand Bay State is not irrigated, although it has the rivers, etc. So there has to be a proper approach to agriculture in terms of moving forward.
Even I've not heard of any new initiative.
Yeah.
Irrespective, we have nutmeg, cocoa, sauce-up, fish, poultry.
Yeah.
These
no new initiative.
I've not heard any new initiative.
Or
we
incentive.
were speaking about flowers. We speak about beekeeping.
Yeah.
We speak about sea moss farming.
Yeah.
We even speak about crab farming.
Yeah.
We export a significant amount of crab to Trinidad on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
We know the government brought in about 400 and something very expensive hybrid, high quality genetic animals. And obviously they were not prepared for it, because when they reach now, they have to fight and go and build houses. But be that as it may, small islands, small developing countries does make a lot of small mistakes. Know that what plan do you have for the very animals that you bring in?
Yeah.
Because we used to export, and you see, we say that because we want people to know. We used to export between 300 to 450, 500 animals almost every week from Grenada to Trinidad and Tobago. Grenada and Carriacou. From Grenville alone, 200, 100 and something, 200 going.
Yeah.
And Carriacou exporting to Trinidad. Live animals used to go to Trinidad.
Yeah. And the main thrust in terms of talking with the ministry in terms of the importation of the animals that came was to improve the genetics mix between the existing animals.
You have a call on the line?
That we have.
You have a call on the line? Caller, welcome.
Yes, good morning, Doc.
Yes, my brother. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning to the other Doc.
Yeah.
Good morning.
2 billion mines. Where is BJ? You also have BJ with you, no?
Yeah, we want to have BJ next week to do a comprehensive kind of discussion on the budget, because budget only came out yesterday, so we don't have all the information as yet.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something. You can't say it, but all the things that you are saying there is the right thing. But look, in business, in anything, I believe in concept, planning, and execution. Yeah, that's the 3 elements in doing things. Concept, planning, and execution. You want your concept, you bring to the next stage, which is planning. Planning is supposed to have a specific period, a specific time. And then you move to the execution. it. But you know what we do? We concept sometime, the right thing, the right idea. We bring it to a mini planning, and we stay there. We never get to the stage of execution, and we start it all over again. So we never able to get off the ground. Now you're talking about the farmers. I used to be a farmer. Serious farmer at 10, 12, I had my banana field. Yeah, I had my nutmeg field. And you see, you have to give the farmer, the modern day farmer, you have to show them the dollars. In those days when we were working to have a field of banana with blue leaves. Yeah, and we sit down and we admire that. The Dash and the Tanya, we admire those things. So we're just working to admire things and to gut for our kitchen. Because we didn't have the market to buy what we, but we stuck to it. Today, based on the state of the world and cost, responsibility, and what you call the goals of people today, you have to talk the dollars. You have to show them the dollar at the end.
Yes.
That's what they want to see.
Yep.
And then you take the other aspect, which is infrastructure, and exactly what you want them to produce. And you strategically position yourself either, is it Tanya, is it yam, is it potato, whatever. And you segment that. Who will do X, Y, or Z? You provide a market for that. But you see, there is an element that we're not paying attention to. And I warned many, many years ago, when we increased the price of the cost of labor from 2025 to 45, that was too high. We move it from there now to 60, 77, 80, and some people doesn't want to work for below 100. Now, the new farmer, the old farmer, from what he has, will be able to find some money to pay for a week, pay for 2 weeks full stop, and that's it. He can't go beyond that because his money finished. The new farmer does not have the money to start. At 16, at $50 and $60, that is very, very high for any new farmer. How do you start? What is the return? Would the return bring back that money? You flood the market so you can't get sale. So why do I go in farming? Let me diversify in selling my property. So I get in out of farming. And that is a trend today. People are selling their property and they're getting rid of farming because the young people are not going to start the farming because the returns is not much. The labor cost is too high and the input is very high, like chemicals and so forth. Why do I go in farming? Those are the things I suggest. It might be something hard to do, but I give this analogy. If I'm paying you $8,000 a year at $20 a day, and I'm paying you $45, $50 a day, with $2,000 a year at $50 a day, $2,000 a year, 1 fortnight, 2 fortnights. Which one would you take? Would you take the $2,000 or 2 fortnights for the year, or would you take the $20 at $8,000 a year? So less bring you more, and more bring you less. And if we put it at that, we realize that we are costing people out of providing the jobs. So the government make that move to satisfy what the saying in the market, oh, wages is low and wages is low. But what is bringing in the wages? It has to be production. And production is low, so the wages is not coming in. Are you still going to increase the wages? You're supposed to reduce the wages to ensure that you can put people to work every day and give the business people the room to employ and pay regularly. I work for a very small salary, and with the small salary, I have a lot. I have house, I have land, and sometimes I buy property cash. You're working for $87 a month, and you buy house and land. How do you do that? People asking me. Yes, but I have a brain. So it is not $500 and $600 and $700 a month that gives me what I have. It is a small salary, right? We've been thrifty to have what I have. So we have to reset. We have to come back down. Whether people want it or not, we have to come back down. If we continue to cost at that high rate based on cost of living. Every time you increase wages, cost of living go up. So there will come a time when even the cost of living, people will not be able to cope and they stop buying. They will not be able to buy, so you price them out of purchasing. What do? You can't chase down the cost of living with high wages. It will not work. It cannot work. And so then I ask the economist, where is our economist?
Yeah. Thanks for the contribution.
You're not telling our business people those things, the government those things. So this country, as I said, Mr. P, I listen to you and I admire you so much. We're going to shut this country down.
Yes, I think
that model of economics. We are going to shut the country down because we can't satisfy the man who say, "Oh, my salary."
Yes, we got to thank you because powerful point, but we got to thank you. Yes,
have a good day, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
a powerful point that he made there. That pass we have to. You cannot say you don't have production, you raise salary, and I don't think the government took the. I don't know who advised. The point he make is, where is the economist?
Yeah.
Economist hiding, The economist is hiding.
Yeah, I remember the name of the economist, but
I don't want to remember the name. Particularly when they're hiding. I just ask people to go and look for economists. If you're an economist, when you have crisis, you want to hear the voice of the economist.
Yeah.
If you have an electrical problem, you call electrician.
Gil Chris, I think his name was.
I tell you, I don't want to remember his name.
Yeah. I want to talk about something that came.
How much time we have left?
From the budget, but I think it's a positive something that came.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. We've been talking on the podcast about using, the transformational fund for agriculture. And I think there is an opportunity for local people to get involved in terms of project with CBI. But unfortunately, I think, again, the people who have been advising the minister in terms of the budget are not in touch really with entrepreneurs and people who are struggling to start business, because what they did was to reduce the fees for the CBI project by 70%. So as a local person, you pay 30%. But I say, why not bring it down to zero? Why not bring it down to 2%? Because we don't have money circulation in terms of the local economy, the local people who are wanting to do projects. And what about people who have little to no startup? If you're going to stimulate your country, why not bring it down to 0 or 1%? 30% of how many thousand you have to pay, whether it's 10 or 20,000 you have to pay in terms of the CBI project for your project before you can even start. It's a lot of money. Why not say local people can pay $500 or nothing? I mean, what do you lose by gaining projects from your local people? They're stimulating your local economy. So you've moved in the right direction, and I hope that local people will put in projects in terms of using the CBI money to develop Grenada, especially the farming community, because we need some major farming projects, some major joint venture projects in terms of the rural economy, because, we're 51 years old. And if you listen to the podcast and hear the evidence, it looks as though we haven't moved, and if anything, we've gone backwards in terms of agriculture. So we know joint ventures has to move forward. We know in agriculture we have to move away from the cutlass, the fork, and the spade. We know we have to go towards mechanization, and we have to do it fast. We know agriculture is a success in many countries, and we know we might not have the technology and we might not have the skills, but what we have to do in order to accelerate our progress is the joint ventures. We need the joint ventures in agriculture. We need partners that can bring in the innovation and the technology to accelerate our development in agriculture, because it's big money in agriculture if you can get it right. And that money circulation that we can get from agriculture, it's going to be very positive to our population. A nation that can feed itself is a special nation. If we never put in the plans in place by giving the incentives and creating, the roadmap for that food sovereignty, we will never get there. But we've seen what China has done in terms of joint ventures. We've seen the results of China. We've heard, people call the programs and talk about show us the money. Now, agriculture has the money. 70% of what we eat, we import. That 70% is just enormous if we could turn it wrong. We could start by turning around 10%. 5%. If we could get it down to 60%, then get it down to 55%, 50%. These are all money staying within our community. These are Grenadian families getting rich. Now, if we are getting a little inroads into the transformation fund to use those money, it's a good thing. But the step wasn't big enough, Mr. Minister. It's in the right direction, but it should only be about 1% you should be charging local people. We are not millionaires. We're not billionaires. We don't have that kind of money to pay that kind of fees that you're asking. Yes, you've reduced it by 70%, but it is still too much for local young entrepreneur. Where's a young entrepreneur gonna find 5,000-6,000 to start a CBI project? It's very difficult. If we give an incentive, let's really open the door and give incentives to local people, because the money is in agriculture. Let's unlock it.
I just want to make the point that sometimes you hear the budget reads and you hear people say $40 million for agriculture. And perhaps farmers have to start to ask yourself, what that $40 million for?
Wages.
Because when the politicians speak to you, you feel excited. And I have seen people come to me and say, you're saying this, look at the government say that. And I only smile and let them at ease. I say, well, I didn't hear. Because I realize they don't understand. What the money for? Is it for paying salary and wages? Well, just now we have to stop say salary and say wages. Because salary is a monthly thing.
Yeah.
Wages and is it for electricity, utility bills? Is it for maintenance of government building? Is it to buy new transportation that cannot go in the land?
Yeah.
Because you have some transportation, although it's a 4-wheel drive vehicle, the drivers are complaining if the grass by the road scratching the vehicle.
Yeah.
Obviously, they did not buy suitable vehicles. In yesteryear, we had Rovers and etc. Now we have a kind of vehicle there. The vehicle look more sick than anything else. They're looking nice, but they're looking sick.
Yeah.
And every time a piece of grass touch the vehicle, it's scratch.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre.
Now we have to also look at.
I have to keep you short because there's one important thing we haven't
Go
talked
ahead,
about.
punch.
No,
One
no,
thing.
you finish, then I'll go.
Yeah. Yes. You hear about the green economy. Well, what is in the green economy for agriculture? Because government is getting money on the international market for the green economy. They're getting money on the international market for the blue economy. Now, the funds they're raising in the green economy and the blue economy and the red economy, how does that go to agriculture? So, you have a call on that?
1 minute.
Okay.
We'll
you go ahead.
We'll have to go over.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What we haven't talked about, and our listeners are probably wondering why we haven't spoken about it, is marketing board. Because nothing came from the budget in terms of marketing board. They talked about a new entity, import-export entity, but that was it. They talked about delay. They talked about marketing board losing money. That was it. I don't believe you've had so much time, 8 months or so since you've closed down marketing board, or is it a year? And there's not a plan to replace marketing board. You have a headline import export, and there's no plan for the farmer. So who are we? The farmers are second class citizen. We don't matter. You just throw us to a side and keep us waiting. And it seems to me that there is in terms of this import export, that the people who could run a marketing board are not being consulted. They're not even included in any bid that you may have. The people who have an interest in terms of import export has been spoken to is the farmers and the rural community. And there are people in the rural community who could run a successful business. We know why marketing board didn't work.
It worked. Well, I don't agree it didn't work. It worked.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, we
It
know
had
what.
its challenges.
We know why it got into financial difficulties, and I'll tell you in a nutshell. We had the situation where the commodities that there was a monopoly on for marketing board didn't make enough profit in terms of subsidizing the farming side of it. So the bills kept going up. We also know that if you look at GIDC and you look at the Tourism Authority, those authorities receive a subvention. Marketing board never received any subvention. We also know in terms of the development work of marketing board that has to be done in terms of critical infrastructure, etc., came from marketing board or came from a degree with grants, etc. So we know what the issues are in terms of marketing board, those people who have been involved in marketing board. We also know how to fix those things as well. But at the same time, we're looking for this great big white horse with the man with the cloak and the sword to come and fix it for us. And the man with the white horse with the cloak and the sword, he's not interested in fixing anything for us. We can fix this problem and get this marketing board going, or I think he called it import export board or whatever. But it's time that we get this structure sorted out and get.
And how you say it's time? It's time too for us to end the day. We were told, I think it was significant, they came with an agenda to decree marketing board. Anyway, we're back with you again next week, Saturday, on the agriculture program. We always encourage you to share our program and subscribe to the program. It's very important for us if you like our program and subscribe to the program and participate in it. And if you believe there is a topic that you want to discuss, you could always ask us to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.